All right, welcome to the first ICON governance meeting. Today in attendance, we have Corey from UBIK, James from ICONation, Edward from POS Bakerz, Tomas from Blockmove, Bodan from Everstake, Icon Boom. You don't have your name, but Icon Boom is here. We have William from RHIZOME, and we have Bitburger from Catalyst, and Parrot9 is also present. Today, we are going to be talking about 5 main topics, and then we also have 4 subtopics that we will get to if there is time. So how this is going to work is after each topic that I announce, I'm going to cycle through everyone and ask if you have anything to say about it. And then we will go through the list of meeting topics like that. So the first topic, these were all submitted from Bitburger, so thank you, is to have a top request from the community is a list of contributions of the PREP teams to be on the voting screen. So basically, this is saying if people are on the voting screen, there should be information about the teams there so they know who they're voting for. So let's start with Corey.
Hello, everybody. How are you today? I hope everything's going well for all of you. And I think it's crucial that we do have a sense of a list of bullet points, per se, of contributions, because I think in regards to the ICON community, I think one of the focal components is transparency and clarity of what we've been working on and what our voters see what we've been doing. So I think it's crucial that we do have some type of bulleted list of each of the contributions that we've conceived of in the ICON ecosystem so that iconists have a better trajectory and idea on who they should vote for and who they think they shouldn't. So thank you, Brian. Thank you for letting me speak.
Let's move on to James.
Hey guys, I agree with that too. Just wanted to add that I do know, I can't really talk about it too much because I talked to somebody and they said don't share too much information about it, but I do know that ICON's working on a way to have contributions sort of organized together in a nice convenient place. I don't know if they're intending and adding it into the voting process, but I do know we're kind of on that track anyway, officially through ICON as well.
Okay, interesting. Edward?
Yeah, so I think from my hand and on behalf of Post Bakerz team, I can say that we support this proposal at 100%. A bit like how voters were able to see the details of each PR proposal during the initial voting period. I think it's fair and transparent to have the possibility for voters to see what the PREPs have actually been doing. Well, adding this link is going to bring more data and transparency to the table. Mm-hmm. It's also good for like a lot of PREP teams that have been focused on product building. And for some of them, they haven't yet built the killer DApp, but they're good project builders. And I think these project building teams should get more votes. So on behalf of Post Bakerz, I can say we support 100% this proposal.
Okay. Let's move on to Blockmove.
Hi. I think this is an interesting idea, but it depends a lot on how it actually looks like
right.
in the wallet or where it's shown. You know, if it's like there is 100 PREPs right now, probably going to be more of them in the future. So I'm not sure if there is a list of achievements like next to each PREP or something in that sense. People are actually going to scroll down. And the other thing is that development of ICONex is exclusively in hands of the ICON Foundation right now. So anything that we make up, they have to implement.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So overall, I think it's an interesting idea, but I would like to see something more specific, or
Right.
some image.
Cool.
How people think it should look like.
Yeah, I think so. Let's move on to Everstake.
Hi guys.
Hello.
And Everstake is good because it's a really nice idea. All of us know that all voters vote only for main perhaps, and only a small amount of people just look at sub perhaps and vote for them. So it may help to voters to understand that these guys from sub perhaps contribute more, and they need voters, need more votes. So it's really important. And but we have to look at some problem like UX because it can be like a monster pile of project or development tools or something like that, and it can be a little bit confusing when people look at all this list. Maybe we have to compare or divide all these all these products in some different spheres, like education, analytics, or something like that. But in general, we agree it's a good idea.
Makes sense. Yeah, thank you for your comments. Let's move on to Icon Boom.
Hi there. Hopefully my micro is working.
Yep, all good.
Yep, good. Okay. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. The only thing I would add, I think on the wallet screen, if it had something to direct people in the sense that I think most people think if they vote for the foundation, then therefore it's a less risky vote. They don't really understand that potentially they can vote sort of further down without risking, and maybe actually encouraging them to say, look, guys, the reason you're voting, very clear there, is because this is going to contribute towards the network, and therefore encouraging people to actually do a bit of research and letting them know that, whoever they vote for is important. And equally, they don't have to vote for the top three in order to, get their rewards, basically.
Right. Okay. Let's move on to RHIZOME.
Thanks. In general, I don't see a ton of requests from the community to have this. A few times I've seen Iconist say it's difficult to go through and monitor a PREP team's contributions. But even if their contributions were on a voting screen, it would probably be difficult for them to go through all the PREP teams, and the average voter likely would not even bother with that. I'm not sure if that would fix the problem. However, maybe in addition to all the social links, Twitter, website, GitHub, that's on the tracker for each team, there could be a link to like a text document with their contributions thus far. I think that would be useful, but in general, I don't feel the aforementioned method will help remedy vote distribution.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Catalyst.
Sorry about that, having issues with mute. Okay, you guys already know how I feel about this issue. I think the difficult thing, as everyone has pointed out, is the sheer amount of information that needs to be conveyed. And I think that how it can be conveyed is really going to be the difficult part. But I do think not conveying any information at all is obviously not a great approach. I do think the voting screen is probably a good place for it. I don't know how it's going to look. It's interesting because you can actually just put a single helpful sentence onto a page like that just simply says, however it's worded, but basically communicates you don't need to vote for the top 5 to be safe. You don't need to, there's things you can add as helper text. Yeah. Specifically, there's just things you can do. And I think what we're doing now is absolutely nothing. So, and I love the way it's set up now where you can find the Twitters and all that stuff, but I really feel that's just, one of the things you learn running websites is people don't click very deep. They'll do, 1 to 3 clicks and then they stop. So I do wonder how many people are even looking at all that information. And so it's really, the hard part is how we're going to communicate this to people. And I think my personal opinion is that not doing it all is obviously not a good approach. So anything that we can do on the voting screen, hopefully on the voting screen with their permission, with the foundation's blessing, will be at least some sort of an improvement. Again, you can chip away at things. It doesn't have to solve, you know, the vote distribution problem, but this would be an improvement, hopefully an improvement.
Yeah. Thanks for your comments. Let's move on to Parrot 9.
Hey, can you guys hear us?
Yep, perfect.
Great. Yeah, we think it's actually essential. We know the majority of people aren't going to go searching for this information. Some will, but the majority won't. So the closer we can have this information to the voting interface, the better. And saying that, Mark from Reliant Node yesterday said, had quite a good point, that a contribution is hard to quote. So it needs to be a relatively open template that can hold the majority of contributions. Also, in saying that with our wallet redesign, which does have an example of how these contributions could look on a, for a voting interface, the ICON Foundation has we've talked to them about it, and they're interested in seeing the final product. So if we can collaborate all these ideas and put it into this interface, it might be quite a lot easier for them to implement as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely think it's essential.
Okay, yeah, so just to summarize this topic, everyone agrees that something has to be done. I'll make a post on the forum that puts together the suggestions that have been put forth. So basically something has to be done. One of the suggestions is to split up the PREPs into different sectors, and voters can use that to guide them in their voting. Because right now, when you look at the wallet, it's just a list. There's no context. So I'll put that in, and we can kickstart the Parrot 9 discussion again, and perhaps we can all pitch in some support for that, so it goes through hopefully faster. Okay, so for the next topic, number 2 is inactive nodes collecting rewards. So quickly, the pros of this, of course, is for the inactive nodes. They get to collect the rewards, and also there's an argument to be made that since they're all actually running nodes, it's more endpoints to pass requests to PREPs, even though having so many sub-PREP nodes at the moment doesn't actually help decentralize the network that much from block production perspective. And the cons of doing this is that these rewards are being funneled into teams that feel like they have to be technically proficient, because the real thing is that many teams do not know how to set up nodes, and many teams are going through Oak Node, which kind of centralizes that process a bit anyway. So let's talk about whether inactive nodes should be collecting rewards, and whether running a sub-PREP node in the first place should be a requirement to be a PREP. Let's start with Corey again.
Sure, thank you so much. And on behalf of UBIK Capital, our response is PREP should comply by requirements to receive rewards. Running a node is a requirement for a PREP, so this should be enforced to receive rewards. A greater question is, it is necessary to have 78 backup nodes, or should there be less stringent requirements for running nodes as sub-PREPs who want to contribute but don't want to run a node, since citizen nodes don't help the network much at this time? So yes, that's our response.
Okay, let's move on to James.
Yeah, similar story here. I almost want to hear if anybody else here that was at the meeting yesterday heard me talk about CREPs. So maybe I could just take a step back for a second. If somebody was at the meeting yesterday, could mention anything about that. Was it any comments about CREPs?
Yeah, I was not at the meeting yesterday, so.
William, you were at the meeting yesterday. Did you hear any talk about implementation of CREPs and that kind of stuff?
No, Min really didn't touch on that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not really sure of the vision and where they're going with that. I know it's changed a lot over the last couple of years, so it might be kind of confusing to bring that up right now. But it's been brought up as many different options and different things that they could be. I'd like to think that everybody is running a nodes. Like, I feel like that should be the requirement. Yeah, that's basically where we stand on it too. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to POS Bakerz.
Thank you. So yeah, basically we think also that sub PREPs should be running a node because if main PREPs are down, it's actually sub PREPs taking on the job, and their main job should be to run a node. Our team in the past, we've analyzed decentralization and also like rewards of PREPs and sub PREPs. And we've noticed that a lot of sub PREPs are down. And initially we thought that they might be down because of the rewards incentives that were insufficient. But we see that even at current price levels, we still have too many sub PREPs being down.
Yeah.
And actually, I'd love to have a tool for everybody to monitor where they could see, the all-time uptime of all sub PREPs in an easy manner. The same way today you can see the block production statistics of main PREPs. In other protocols where we operate ourselves, there are slashing mechanisms against this kind of behavior. Some protocols, they have like a 2 hours window. Some others, it's a 48 hours window. So I don't know what should be the window allowed for sub PREPs in the ICON ecosystem. That's probably where a lot of debate should happen. Mm-hmm. But definitely we're in favor of disqualifying them or having some kind of slashing mechanism. And we also agree that if sub PREPs can't run a node or are not running a node, they should not even earn rewards at the first place.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to Blockmove.
All right, so I briefly checked what's the current status of the nodes. I think everyone should be running one, but at the same time, it doesn't seem to be a huge problem right now. There are around 15 nodes that are off, according to the tracker, from which 11 are from ranks 89 to 100. Mm-hmm. And the amount of ICX needed to replace 89th is around 16,000. So I think the practical solution is to onboard more nodes that will be active and will replace these. It will be probably faster than taking governance actions. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, let's move on to Everstake.
So we agree everyone have to run a node, and sometimes even maybe we have to, main perhaps have to run a subnodes, like backup node, because in Everstake we run 2 nodes, one for test and one for block production. And we have a lot of experience with the same problem with in a system like in blockchain Trezor, where we have 3 backups, because sometimes we have, not we, and in general, people have problem with servers, and with all this, we have to cover all these problems and issues. And maybe some of you know that now we're working on with one project, ICON Vault Monitor, and one of main options that we have a script that have to check all perhaps, look at productivity, look at how these guys produce block, how much they miss, and we create a table. Yeah, and in this table you can find all this information. So it's very important, and we agree with this. That's all. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for your comments. Let's move on to Icon Boom.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of agree with all of the above that, we think that everyone should have to really run a node. I mean, most of our skills sort of fall outside of the technical world, like we're mostly in sort of the business side of things, but at the same time, we sort of see that as a minimum requirement to sort of, support the network.
Okay, cool. RHIZOME?
Thanks. We actually don't feel it should be necessary for a sub P-rep to operate a node, just because it actually does not help decentralize the ICON network. For starters, sub P-rep nodes don't participate in consensus and they don't produce blocks. They're essentially nodes that are used to forward requests from dApps to the P-rep nodes. And right now, there's not that much use within the network. So we feel having so many nodes is actually taking value away from what the teams can actually be doing. This is also further evident by the fact that many sub P-reps aren't really technically proficient, so they end up wasting time on spinning up nodes. And going off what Brian said earlier, many sub P-rep nodes are actually operated by Oak Node, which is a single centralized entity, which doesn't really help decentralization at all, in our opinion. We feel it wastes time, money, and does not help decentralize the ICON network. Perhaps instead of using the term inactive node, maybe that should be replaced with inactive team, but doing that kind of circles back to what exactly quantifies as contribution.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to Catalyst.
My initial opinion is that everybody should run a node. However, listening to William, and I actually love this about the ICON project, it is been put together by some very intelligent individuals, and I've actually learned a lot. So if there are perspectives and intentions from the foundation related to this, I'd be welcome to listen to that and keep my mind open to it. I, like everybody else, immediately default to assuming that everybody's basic contribution is to run a node. So of course everyone needs to run a node. If there's more to that to consider, then I would be open to listening. My main question is, I believe, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this, it's as soon as you send in your 2000 ICX to register the node that you start generating rewards, and you don't even have to be online. And I was working with Rob from Insight, and he was actually shocked about that because he said, you're already getting rewards and we haven't even gotten you up yet. And it had been 3 days. So there's a little bit of an, I don't know, I want to call it intuitiveness. I'm forgetting the right word, but you get the idea, where it's kind of surprising. But the people that have written the system probably had some thoughts about this. So I'd be interested in hearing what they have to say as well.
Okay. Let's move on to Parrot 9.
Yeah, William, that was actually a very good point. I hadn't considered that, but we don't have really strong feelings one way or the other, but in saying that, it doesn't surprise us that a lot of these bottom P-reps aren't running a node. It does cost money to run these nodes, and these guys aren't earning that much. And because no one is voting for the bottom P-reps, they aren't really incentivized to be up 100% of the time. I'd be curious to see if they would be up more if they were earning more, but we have no hard solutions to how to solve this.
Okay. So to summarize the discussions from this topic, many teams do think that it should be a complete hard requirement to run a node, while some teams like Tomas from Blockmove, you've taken an actual look at the numbers and have suggested just onboarding more nodes could also be a solution. And, I think this comes down to a discussion between what is the reality of the network at this moment versus what should a P-rep, I guess, philosophically be like they're supposed to do. Like, should we run a node even though it means, it doesn't actually help decentralize the network at this stage, but it might help in the future? Or do we say it's okay to not run a node at the moment and have teams focus on what they're good at? Because clearly there are some teams that they're not technically sound enough to run a node. And if those teams actually should just not be a team at all, and they should just focus on submitting like a proposal or something with the, I think they announced yesterday that DBPs and EEPs would be combined into one contribution proposal thing. So perhaps that could be an option. So I will also make a discussion topic for this because we have quite a few very different opinions on this at the moment. So if you guys could all pitch in on that discussion when it is live on the forum, would appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. It is dynamic node registration fee. So since the beginning of the network, the fee to initialize a PREP team is 2,000 ICX. So that is currently pegged to an asset that changes in value every single day. So we are thinking about proposing a dynamic node registration fee that's pegged to USD or something instead. So, you know, let's say when ICX reaches $10, it won't cost 20 grand to spin up a node or to form a team. So let's start with Corey.
Sure. Thank you so much. So on behalf of UBIK Capital, we believe that the dynamic node registration fee makes perfect sense, but we believe that we should try to perhaps tie it to IREP because IREP, in a sense, kind of fluctuates with price. So we were thinking about that paradigm shift in regards to dynamic node registration fees.
Can you clarify how it would play with IREP? So how that would factor in?
So according to what I was discussing with Russell was that it would, I guess you could describe it as it would fluctuate with a notion of price in accordance to the IREP, whether we decide to lower our IREP up and down. The dynamic node registration fee does make sense, but I feel like as a collective, we all need to create a solution that, as you said before, ties to USD or something like that, because when you're talking about a rise in price, you know, it's very difficult to create a node, to run a node when it's very difficult to afford it. So we believe that, you know, it should be tied to a dollar figure or a price figure per se.
Okay. Let's move on to James.
This one's a no-brainer. We have to figure out how to make it lower. Yeah, it seems simple. Yeah. There's not really much to add to that. Yeah, I don't know if pegging it to IREP would be a good idea because maybe it wouldn't go down enough percentage-wise. But yeah, obviously, as the price goes up, we have to find a way to make it more affordable to onboard more people because the goal is to keep building upon, have more and more PREPs as we go in time. So we can't make it too expensive. Perhaps with the idea of a bond coming in, maybe that reduces the need for so much of a registration fee because then teams will be committing upfront capital towards the network or at least putting some aside. So that's something to consider as well in the maths of all of this.
Okay. Blockmove?
Yeah, I agree that the registration fee shouldn't be a huge barrier for entry. So at some point in the future, not sure it's right now, probably further on, it makes very good sense to make it dynamic. And I think the IREP might actually work because as well, IREP is a variable that is already on chain and PREPs sort of use it to peg their earnings to some dollar value. So this might actually work, I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Everstake.
It's a really good idea, but I'm not sure now how it will be working, like some formula or something like that, because now it's hard to predict. But it makes sense because if let's imagine that ICX will cost, as you said, Brian, $10, it can be very costly, really. So we agree.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Icon Boom.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's got to be an upper limit. There's got to be a place, a point where it can't go any higher because it can't be too expensive. At the same time, there is value. I think there's more value in once the price is higher. Maybe it should be a little, cost a little bit more to get involved because potentially your rewards will be higher. Also, can encourage people to get involved now rather than sort of waiting out till the price is higher and then paying up. So I think maybe a top limit to make sure it doesn't get too expensive, but having it as it is at the moment with a fluctuating price, I think it's kind of fair in some aspects.
Okay. POS Bakerz.
I think that the goal of this proposal, so it's to make the ecosystem fairer and to keep low barriers to entry for peer reps and competitors. And it's not something we are opposed to, but we're just wondering how we could implement this and what should be actually the fair price at which we can implement this. And also because for second thoughts, we can say that it's ICA growing in price, but it's also USD decreasing in value. And it's not, pegging it to USD is not necessarily fair for some people who might not have access to USD, but have access to crypto. So we need to be careful on the pricing and probably just adding some complication to a system that is already simple. But we agree with the idea that we should make something fairer and keep low barriers to entry so that it also increases competition and we have more peer reps competing and the ecosystem is better overall.
Cool. Next is RHIZOME.
Thanks. It seems like there's pretty much universal consensus on this. We are fully in support of this. Over time, keeping the registration fee fixed at 2,000 ICX will only add a greater barrier of entry to the ICON network as the price continues to rise. If we were to hit something like $5 or even $10 in token price, that would be 10 to 20K. Just in registration fee. So in some parts of the world, that's a significant amount of money, and 10 to 20K could be what some people make in a year. So we think it should be dynamic for sure. And the registration fee should not cost more than, I'd say, $500.
Okay, let's move on to Catalyst.
Totally in support of ideally pegging it to something that doesn't change in value. I once again would love to hear from the foundation, what their intention was, because I feel like they're missing from the conversation. But if it seemed, I guess when we were at 10 cents that they picked $200, if you had to convert it to something, maybe that was coincidental at the time, and maybe they wrote that 2,000 ICX in 8 months ago. But I'd be interested in knowing, because again, they've done a lot of thinking and a lot of thought about this, and maybe they think 200 is a great number. So that's the only caveat I would add, is to see if there's any thinking that would be valuable to the conversation.
Yeah. All right. Parrot 9.
Yeah. Our main concern is that we don't want to alienate new peer reps from joining. There may be some people out there with some essential skills to the ICON network, and if it's too expensive, we just end up gatekeeping them. So that's pretty much our thoughts on it.
Yeah, okay. So to summarize this topic, everyone is pretty much in support of this. Having it fixed to 2,000 ICX does introduce some kind of barrier for people in many parts of the world. The debate is to how best to come across this figure. Is it each team submits a proposal like IREP, or is it just a fixed figure that that we have to vote on? So now I will also make a topic for this on the forum. We can tag a few people from ICON to see what they say. And hopefully that can lead to a vote on chain for future implementation soon. Okay. Let's move on to number 4. This is kind of a very specific topic. Actually, the topics from now on are very specific and might not have input from everyone, but we will discuss them as they were on the list. So this one is about ICONex mobile wallet fee issue, also submitted by Bitburger. So Dusty, he runs one of the P reps, I think Icon for Business, runs a DApp and has reported that the mobile wallet doesn't allow for custom fees. As such, all the transactions using their DApp are getting rejected by the system when executed from the mobile wallet. Their DApp is set to non-standard fees ranging from 0.0034 to 0.005. They go through fine on the Chrome wallet, but the mobile is set to 0.002. He felt like this was worth mentioning because maybe we can, as a group together, push this towards Icon, as it might need a fix from their end. Does anyone have anything to say about this? I feel like this is just an issue that we should submit as a bug. Yeah? Let's go with Everstake. You raised your hand.
I think we just have to push all this to Icon, like Foundation, and they have to make some QA research and understand why it's problem. Like it's just a bug. That's all. We cannot cover this.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, since it's working on the Chrome wallet, presumably it's just an issue with the code on the mobile wallet. Does anyone have anything else to say? Corey?
Sure, thank you so much. So to build on to what Everstake stated, we do support the fixing of the issues to make ICONex better. I think it's crucial that we do send it into the foundation, however, to have a collaborative effort and an understanding about what the intricate components are on how this is going to be fixed, so that Iconis can understand the technical components of how the Icon Foundation is going to fix these issues per se. So thank you so much.
Yep. Okay. I think that's it for this topic. We will push this towards Icon. And the next topic. Oh, yeah?
Sorry to interrupt. I can't raise my hand since I'm invisible.
Okay.
Just wanted to mention, somebody had they had a big discussion that ensued after he brought this up, and somebody said this was a great opportunity for P reps to start writing code and submit them to the foundation. And that raised a question: do we even have an open source situation where if we see an improvement or a bug fix even, or something we want to add, that it could actually be submitted somewhere and for review, and then maybe possibly added to the repository, committed, and that whole deal? Do we know what that is, or do we pretty much need to just look at things like this and go, hey guys, we may have found an issue, and just kind of send it off to them?
I think maybe Tomas from Blockmove has some thoughts on this, but I know there are some open source parts of Loopchain that I don't know if any of the wallet stuff is open source. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, the Android wallet is open sourced.
Okay. Yeah, so if that is open source, I guess P-reps could technically take a look at the code and see what's up with that. It would depend on the team's time, of course, and if they have interest in pursuing that. But since this particular issue is kind of killing mobile adoption of their DApp, I guess Icon should probably take a look at this as soon as possible. So we will let them know about this. Okay, the next topic is Icon Foundation Telegram channel list additions. So this was also submitted by Bitburger. Suggestion to add the new Icon China Telegram channel to the master list of Telegram channels on the Icon Foundation website. I guess this is one more thing that we can just request the foundation to do. I guess their question would be whether a Telegram channel counts as official, right? Do you guys have any thoughts on whether, channels from different parts of the world should be counted as official? And if not, like what would the process of making them official would be? Because realistically, not everyone speaks English. So let's go on with Corey first.
Sure. Thank you so much, Brian. So when we have a network and a paradigm that's looking to hyperconnect the world, we can't be exclusionary in regards to the vernacular that's spoken in different areas of the world. If we do that, we can only hyperconnect specific areas of the world, not the ubiquitous entirety of the planet. So I think personally, because there are thousands upon thousands of languages out there. Specifically, in this case, we're talking about official Chinese Telegram community chat room. I see no reason why we shouldn't have a Chinese community chat room. I think in order to be a successful network, we need to be as inclusionary as possible.
Yep. Anyone else have anything to add on that?
I do. Raise my hand. Sorry. Brian, actually, I'm shooting you messages privately on the chat. I don't know if those pop up or not, so I don't have to keep interrupting people like this.
I see them now. I wasn't looking. So let's go with Bitburger first, and then we'll hop over to James.
Okay. I just want to say really quickly, as with everything, it's kind of how it gets implemented. I think you raised a good point, Brian. An official ICON channel has some implications there that I'm sure ICON wants to be careful of. And we need to be respectful of that, just my opinion. So whatever, criteria would come up. I mean, at this point, the Chinese room is run by a P rep who a lot of us know. And of course we trust her and it's all great. So, but defining what is an official channel is more than just, opening it up, a random person opening it up. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to James. And then we'll go to Edward after that.
I just wanted to add about if it's going to be an official channel, there needs to be some kind of level of oversight from ICON. I mean, I imagine they'd like to have some kind of idea of what's happening in the channel, because if the channel turns toxic or gets taken over by a bad environment, it's not good. It's not a good image for us. So there has to be some kind of level of oversight from ICON. I'd like to think that if the China channel grew big enough, I mean, realistically, ICON should have somebody that speaks Chinese that engages with the Chinese community. So they should perhaps take on that role just to keep an eye on the channel and say, is this channel functioning well? Is it a good representation of the network? If it just turns into a big troll fest, then it really shouldn't be labeled as an official channel.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to Edward.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what has been said by ICONation and Catalyst. In a way, it's up to the foundation to decide which channel should be official or not. It's going to cost them time and resources to have a channel official. Ourselves, we had created a channel with other European peer-reps called ICON Europe. It's like a group where we discuss with the European community, and everybody is welcome to join. And it's not official, but actually, it's also up to the channel's creator if they want extra advertising, or if they want official ICON team members to invite them to advertise it or to join it. And ourselves, as admin, we have some ICON Foundation employees, and they were happy to join. And yeah, it's not official, but it's like this, and it's kind of, I feel like it's kind of normal that it's not official given the current size of the ICON Europe community.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so I will compile this discussion along with the other stuff that we need to get some input from ICON, and I will tag the necessary people to discuss that. So the next topic is user request for an auto-restake function. So we should discuss whether this encourages too much lack of attention from voters, as we want to encourage participation and for people to keep up to date with changes in teams. New teams are popping up all the time. So an auto-restake function would essentially take the need to at least log on and claim your tokens. So let's discuss whether an auto restake function is a good idea. Let's start with Corey.
Sure. Here at UBIK Capital, we do we do agree with the idea of we support a auto restake option, but we kind of look at it more as an ICON development team to fix, and we don't necessarily see it as a governance issue. So I feel like this is something that also should be brought to the ICON Foundation. You know, UBIK as a whole believes that this should be a ICON development team thing to fix. So yeah.
All right, let's move on to James.
Death and taxes, gentlemen. It's the only certain thing in the world. You're creating taxable events and stuff like that. So it's something to take into consideration with like claiming scores and just automating some things that could be taxable events. So I would just say that part of that is being mindful of these kind of things. But that's about all I have to say on that.
Okay. Blockmove?
Yeah, I can't really say to what degree this would like influence attention of voters, but personally, I think that's definitely a feature that I'd like to see there, because the whole process of claiming, restaking, revoting is very annoying if you do it manually.
Okay. Let's move on to Everstake.
Exactly. I don't know what to add. I agree, because it's a nice feature, really. Good feature. Agree.
Icon Boom? Oh, you are muted at the moment.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yep, sorry. Yeah, I think it's a bad idea, actually. I think it encourages laziness. I think people should, it's something they have to only do every few days. So if anything, I think people should have to vote every few months or every so often, and encourage people actually to be active rather than just, click a tick box and leave it for a couple of years. I don't think it's a good way to go.
Let's move on to POS Bakerz.
Yeah, I think it's a good feature to have as well. It will make life easier for a lot of iconists. I think there are a lot of token holders that don't have the time to constantly withdraw their rewards and restake them. Also, I don't know, probably someday somebody is going to come up with a script, and it will not be something official. So probably it's better to have an official option for people to claim their rewards and restake them automatically. Then on the cons, it's true that it kind of facilitates passive management of the tokens, but I think the people that don't claim on a weekly basis, they're the same as the ones that are going to use the auto compounding function, so they'll be passive whatever happens. That's my thoughts on this. I don't have any data to support it, but
cool.
Yeah, it's a good plus to have.
All right, let's move on to RHIZOME.
Yeah, I agree with what Icon Boom was saying earlier. We are not in support of this. We feel it incentivizes people to just vote once and kind of forget about it, because it would just restake for them. And it would also mean that a third-party entity, whether that's the wallet app or what have you, would have access to the private key, which I feel is more of a risk than just having someone restake once a week and actually stay up to date with what's going on.
Okay, let's move on to Catalyst.
Wow. Hearing you guys speak, my opinion changes every 5 seconds. Everybody's got incredible points. Yeah, I hadn't thought about the private key thing. I think this is a feature that anybody intuitively would say should be added, because it just makes things easier. But I also strongly believe that we need people going into that wallet and being involved. Sorry, Boom. That's so loud on my speakers.
I just muted you. Sorry.
So yeah, no, I think it is. I think I would lean towards it probably not being a great idea, but I get why everybody wants it, because it's a total pain in the butt to restake. So I would say I personally think it promotes laziness, so I'm going to probably settle on that for now.
Okay, let's move on to Parrot 9.
Yeah, the private key thing is interesting. We don't really support creating a bad user experience in order to solve the problem of engagement. People are pretty lazy, and every time they have to claim iScore, it's just creating an annoyance for them. However, in saying that, we need to make the voting process more engaging, with like information about what PREPs are doing before we implement something like this. Otherwise, as you guys are saying, we'll just never see them again. They'll just stake and claim, and yeah, they'll go.
Cool. Yeah, so I think this one will definitely require more discussion on this. It's kind of a really big topic that has consequences that kind of goes down to the core of what this network is about. So I think in order to summarize, it's kind of a debate between practicality and convenience versus, the origins of this network and, the idea that people should be keeping up to date with teams. And maybe this turns into something where, on the on-chain component that people would have to restake, but then you have second layer options for people who would rather just leave their tokens somewhere. For example, if they wanted to leave on Coinbase or something, and in order to get their passive income that way. I think both sides have good discussions. So would also be interested in getting the Icon Foundation's comments on that. So I will make a discussion topic about that as well. Now we're down to the list of subtopics. So I guess we can just talk about this for the next 9 minutes or so. We don't have that much more time. The last two topics kind of revolve around hardware wallet support. So that's both on the Ledger and the Trezor. So on the Ledger side, it seems like people are experiencing bugs with the ICONex wallet and also bugs with the mobile app. I also feel like this is something that the Icon Foundation would have to do. There's so many different USB chipsets out there that I don't know if it's like a testing issue with that or whether it's actually some software glitch. Personally, I have never experienced these glitches, so I can't speak to it. Does anyone have any comments about hardware issues? Let's go with Corey.
Hey, Brian. So I actually experienced this hardware bug myself, specifically with the Ledger. A couple of weeks back when we had that issue with the ICONex Google Chrome extension wallet, every time I tried to plug in my Ledger, it would constantly say failed to connect. And for those who are rather beginners in the cryptocurrency community, specifically Icon, that can be very, very, very terrifying to know that you can't have access to your funds because of a bug. I think that this is also something that should be brought to the Icon development team. I do believe that hardware wallets are a crucial component of token ownership and safety. So I think that these bugs should be brought to the Icon development team. And also we have to take into account, like, for example, when this happened, when it was fixed, it still wasn't fixed for me. And I had to actually speak to a representative of the foundation, and they had to tell me how to clear my Google cache, if I'm saying that properly. And many people didn't realize that, and people were still having problems, about 3 to 4 days later because of that simple requirement of clearing your cache. So I think that this is a foundation development issue that we should bring to the Icon Foundation's attention. And I think that, that's what UBIK Capital thinks.
Cool. Anyone else have anything to say about this? Okay. So I think this one will also, maybe we can formalize it into some kind of bug report. Perhaps another suggestion would be to form kind of a PREP subcommittee that can help Icon with this kind of testing. Because like Corey said, I feel like, the software that interacts with your funds is extremely important on how people view a project. If this official wallet from Icon is not performing as expected, I don't know. I don't know how this could be solved. I don't know if they could spin it off into a desktop app that would make, stuff like the Chrome cache not even be an issue. We'll compile maybe a list of suggestions and a bug report or something for them. Because I do see very often in the chats that people are having issues. I've personally not had them, but the fact that people are actually, in the chats talking about this, it does seem like something that should be fixed. In terms of, did you have something to say, Corey?
Yeah, just one more quick thing. We also need to realize that a lot of beginner cryptocurrency investors really don't understand the intricate components of how to utilize a ledger and how to consistently update it. I remember when I first bought my ledger, it was actually rather terrifying to update my ledger. So we need to also realize that, that it's not only the foundation's issue, it's also trying to figure out how to educate the community on how to use a ledger and update the firmware, update the ICONex Chrome extension, not Chrome extension, I'm sorry, the ICONex application on the ledger. So I think that maybe creating a simplistic tutorial would be able to help with that as well, because I think people need to understand how to use these wallets proficiently before we start, I don't want to say pointing fingers, but start, automatically presuming that, Icon is automatically at fault. Not at fault, but automatically has to fix, something that could be fixed with just understanding the intricate components of how to use a ledger.
Yeah, I think anything that helps reduce friction with this would be helpful for, for non-techie people who are trying to get into crypto. Anyone else have comments? Nope. All right, the last thing is Trezor wallet support completion. Trezor support was started via their GitHub, approved, and has been left incomplete for several months. What is needed to complete this task? Does anyone have thoughts about this? I'm not too familiar with wallet. Okay, let's go with James.
So Spleen from our team was the one that contacted Trezor and got the ball rolling there. He got approval for us to carry on with it. And then after that, we hadn't done anything with it. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, I saw Spleen and Dimitri talking that they're both working on it now. So they have started and they've forked from the Ethereum code. They're tidying it up, working on Icon code as well. I don't know if anybody else has thought to take it upon themselves as well. I'd love to hear if anybody else is working on it so we could team up together and put our heads together and get it done.
Cool.
My suggestion to my team was that I'd bring it up today and let everybody know where we're at, see if anybody else had started or had an interest to have a bit of input on it, and then perhaps for our next meeting we could come with a bit of a time frame for an expected completion or just some sort of relative idea of where we're at with that.
Cool. So Bitburger just messaged me. He said he has some comments. So go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I just I think it'd be good to have some guidance on what types of things the P-Reps can code. We've got a lot of coders and developers, I think, in the P-Rep teams that can contribute. And obviously this would be an outstanding contribution. I'm not clear as a non-technical individual where the line is drawn on things that we can contribute to, help with, fix bugs, create enhancements, add stuff, and where we probably shouldn't. So maybe some guidance on that we could maybe request from the foundation. It may be obvious to you guys. Maybe it's simply like, obviously, if it's an ICONex thing, that's the foundation's job. If it's Trezor, this is separate. So we've got freedom there. But I am excited. I get excited about the idea in the crypto world of people being able, especially when you decentralize development, to be able to contribute and just continue that growth like crazy, because a lot of the stuff, gets sent to the foundation sometimes and then just doesn't get handled. And, they're obviously working on a ton of stuff. So we are here to help offload a lot of that work in a lot of different ways. But when it comes to code, where can we help and where is it not appropriate?
Right. I think maybe Tomas can shed some insight on this, but I think where the line is drawn from someone who's not really a dev is like, if the source is, if the code is open source, it's open for work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you have to get familiar with the code.
Right.
Might take a lot of time. On the topic of Trezor integration, I saw opened issue by Spleen, not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, from ICONation, around a year ago on GitHub of Trezor, asking about integration of ICX. And the last update there is answer to my question from October. I noticed they claim they only integrate coins in top 30 by market cap. So I asked whether it still applies, and they confirmed. So at this point, I'm not sure even if ICONation or someone else actually completes the code. They are willing to integrate it.
Interesting. James, so maybe you want to let Spleen know about that. I mean, in the future, we'll be top 30, of course. But for now, they might be better off spending the resources on something else.
That's sorry, I just turned my mic back on. That's exactly why nothing had been done, because our consensus happened, and we weren't even in 30 at the time. So we sort of thought to prioritize towards our SDKs and everything else that we're working on with the price oracles that we were building and everything like that. Yeah.
That makes sense. But
we're heading back to the 30 now, boys. So
yeah. All right. So that is it for the topics for this meeting today. I think we made pretty good time, 1 minute over time. So what I will do is I will go through this and I will make the necessary topics on the forum for discussion. And we should all try to go in there and discuss this. And I will put all of those links in the meeting notes and upload this video to YouTube for everyone to watch. So does anyone else have any last minute comments? Corey?
I just want to say that I really think it's absolutely fantastic that all of us as P-reps are working collectively and collaboratively for the benefit of the ICON ecosystem. When you have not even social, but corporate isolationism, you can't really go far. So when we see these different meetings that have that occurred on Friday and then are occurring today, and the meetings to be, it's a beautiful thing to see, because as we hyperconnect the world, we need to become more connected in communication. So this was really great, and everybody at UBIK Capital really appreciates this, and we're looking forward to discuss more about the intricate components about ICON and the ICON ecosystem in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So let's go James and then Edward.
First up, just thanks everybody for attending. It's been really great to talk to you all. I just wanted to add a very quick update on the Reddit situation. All the old mod team except for myself are now gone. I've been building a new mod team now, so there's now 3 of us. One of my focuses has been trying to upgrade it and have better access to information for all the different P-reps. And I've been practically manually sharing information myself lately, which is very inefficient. But To Infinity and I are sort of working a little bit together, and I'm going to try to draw from the ICON community website to get everybody's information sort of more organized on there, so that you can all sort of get your voices out there, and especially the sort of the mid-rank and lower teams that need to get more attention and definitely need more votes. We need to get more visibility for you guys, and like my word of mouth, I'm trying my best to get your names out there, but yeah, there's better ways to do it, and I just want you to know I'm working on it.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for the update. Let's go on to Edward.
Yeah, Sam, I just wanted to say thanks to you guys, thanks to the team of RHIZOME and Catalyst for putting this meeting through. And thanks for everybody for taking part in it. And thank you to the Iconists who watched the YouTube video and made it through the end.
Does anyone else have any comments? All right. So that is it for the first meeting. Thank you for everyone for attending, and we will have the next one next weekend. All right. Have a good one.